As any good story starts, once upon a time, Lisa and I were married. And when we began our married life, we were in a place where probably most of you are or were at one point in your life in debt. We started out right out of the gate in debt. And I can actually tell you about the very first purchase I made that I was not able to pay off. It was a car stereo. It wasn't just any car stereo either. It was a phenomenal Pioneer. Now keep in mind this was 1999 CD player. Sorry, 1998. I had to correct my notes earlier because Lisa and I were not dating when I bought it, so I probably would have made a smarter decision if we were dating when I bought the CD player. Anyway, not only was it a CD player, it had the detachable face to prevent theft, so that was a must-have for my car. Really, I had to have it, though, if you think about it, right? Because I bought the car, and the week before I bought it off the used car lot, the stereo had been stolen out of it, so I had to have tunes, right? I justified it in my mind. I had to have something to drown out my own singing, so that was probably a good purchase. But looking back, it was a decision that's kind of been a hallmark of how I spent money over the years. I could have purchased a cheaper stereo. I could have gone without one for a while, or something I could actually afford. But no, I had to have a nice one, and had to have one with plenty of features that I never ended up using. A few years later, fast forward a little bit, Lisa and I are sitting in a seminar called Good Sense, and it's all about managing money in a God-honoring way, very much like this current series we're doing here at Meadow. I still remember the main theme of that seminar, and gradually over the years, it has become a guiding principle for us. That theme was, it all belongs to God, and we are His stewards. All belongs to God, and we are His stewards. There isn't a thing on this planet that we own ourselves. God created everything on this planet, and we are just stewards of what God has entrusted to us. If you think you've earned anything on your own, you have a flawed perspective. If there's one thing you take away from what I'm sharing today, please just let it be this. God has entrusted you with His property, and what you do with it determines how much more He grants you. As John mentioned, He doesn't grant you more so that you can have more. He grants you more so that you can be responsible for more. So a minute ago, I used the word steward. It's defined as a person who manages another's property or financial affairs, one who administers anything as the agent of another. A good steward receives more responsibility from the owner and will be rewarded with more. However, if the steward focuses solely on fulfilling his own desires, then his priorities start to shift and the owner will begin to take things away. So God created everything, right? And He is the great provider. And I am a steward of His property. My perspective on money management is quite a bit different than what it used to be. And like I said, everything belongs to God, and I am just a steward now. Tithing is of utmost importance to us now. It's the first thing that comes out of our bank account after each pay period. And I'm not going to go into a whole diatribe on tithing, but I want to say one thing. We didn't start tithing fully tithing until recently. After all those years of marriage and living in debt, we worked our way up, and finally we just had to make the decision and start tithing. If you've attended Meadow for any amount of time, I know you've heard this at least once, probably several times, but we couldn't afford to tithe. But then we realized we couldn't afford to not tithe. When we tried to increase our tithe and our budget to a full 10% of our income, it didn't add up. But we learned something important a couple years ago. Tithing isn't about math, it's about faith. Since we have started tithing, we've had uncountable blessings in our lives. Our friendships and relationships with people have flourished beyond what we could have ever imagined. We aren't as stressed about money anymore, and we're learning to be more content with our current situation. There are just so many ways that God blesses those who give back what He has given them. Another blessing I had is a recent job change. I got to stay with my current company, go to another job that had way less stress and was more relaxed, and make the same amount I was making before. Those are things that wouldn't have happened. I honestly believe they wouldn't have happened if we didn't start tithing. The blessings are both monetary and non-monetary, if you look at the relationships and the money. And when I look back, it all started when we started tithing. Give back to God what is already His, and He will grant you more to take care of, and He will bless your life. There's no exaggeration in that statement. It will happen. Does that mean we're suddenly not in debt? Nope. Our highest priority after tithing is working on paying off all the debt we've racked up over the years. We haven't been perfect in following our plan over the years, and we've made mistakes. But it does mean that somehow we are now able to both tithe and pay more than minimum balance is due. It means that we're making progress on our financial goals, and the blessings I mentioned are happening. We were able to pay off our student loans a few years ago. We have 2 cars in great condition with nothing owed on them, and we're starting to see progress on paying off consumer debt. I did the math recently, and over the years that we've been married, other than our mortgage, we are making progress that in a few years we will have paid off over $200,000 in debt, counting student loans, car loans, and consumer debt. So the guiding principle in our lives is using what God has given us to advance His kingdom. And what that looks like could be different for each person and each family. For us, it often means making hard decisions about things we want. It means not always doing the easy thing, like eating out. It means not always doing the fun thing, like going home to Alaska, where Lisa's family is from in the summer, so that she gets to see her family. Like I said, we're not perfect, and we know we're not perfect, and that we know that we will make more mistakes. But we'll always come back to our guiding principle. Everything belongs to God, and we are His stewards. I want to thank you guys for letting me share with you today. My prayer is that maybe just 1 or 2 things I've said will help you in your journey, in your story. And like I said, Lisa and I are still working on it. So we covet your prayers for us as we continue our story. I want to leave you thinking about one verse that John shared just a few minutes ago, Matthew 6:33. Seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things, the necessities, the things we too often worry about in life, all these things will be given to you as well.